Hello, I'm Cindy Pendegraft, and I'm here today to talk about a question that a lot of people have. The question is, why am I here? Why was I put on this earth? What's my purpose? What's my calling? If we knew the answer to that question, we could actually live our lives with purpose, knowing that we're doing what we were put here to do. Well, I do have an answer to this question, and I think you do too. The answer is something that you already know, but just never gave much credence to. You never really thought that that could really be what you're here for. I believe it started when you were a child. Think back. What are the things that you loved to do? What are things that you would do even if everyone else thought it was silly and crazy? In fact, that thing that you loved doing back then probably was thought to be silly or crazy or childish. People might have told you, oh, stop doing that. That's not worthwhile. That's nothing that you need to be worrying about or doing anything about. Go do something that makes a difference. Do something that can earn you some money. There's a lot of things that people told you about that thing that you love doing that made you think that maybe it wasn't all that important after all. But it turns out that that's exactly the thing that you were made to do. So I want to tell you about a little story about myself. When I was a little girl, I gathered, about 6th grade, I gathered all the neighborhood kids into my garage and set them on a bench and put a chalkboard in front of them, and I was their teacher. And I wrote the word cat, and they did cat. And I wrote the word dog, and they wrote dog. And they learned because I taught them. That was thrilling. But I didn't think much about it right then. It was just great, and I loved it. But the next thing that happened was some of my friends, when I was in middle school, they didn't know how to do math very well. And so they would ask me. And when I would explain it to them, they understood it. Then a little later in high school, I needed to have a service project. So I decided to be a tutor. So I went to the local elementary school and began tutoring kids. And it was amazing because when I tutored them, they understood it. And these were kids who were having trouble in the regular classes. Later in my life, I was a stay-home mom. I loved it. And I would lead Bible studies with women. And when I would teach them, they would understand it. Then after a while, I said, okay, I really want to be a teacher. So I'm going to do some studies. And I went ahead and got my bachelor's degree and my teaching credential. And when I was 39, I began teaching in public school. And it turns out that when I teach the kids, they learn it. So I began asking for the kids that had trouble learning, and I could explain those things to them and they would learn it. So it turns out that the thing that I did when I was very young is actually the thing that I was to do with my life. I'm a teacher. So I want you to think back on your life. It may seem insignificant, like me gathering the kids into the garage to teach them, but I want you to try to put the pieces together, put the puzzle pieces together. What is the thing that you loved doing, and you still love doing, and you're just good at it? So I'm going to give you a little bit of time to think about that. I want you to write some things down maybe, or just put it in your brain, because I'm going to ask you to put me on pause while you're thinking about that. Now just take 5 or 10 minutes and see what you come up with. And when you're done, come on back and join me again. Okay, so I guess you have some things written down, and it might be even more confusing than it was before. Because for me, when I started writing down the things that I loved when I was a child, I came up with a list of 4 things. One is I love to sing. I'm really good at it, and I'm a good singer. And I have been all my life. Also, I love to write, and I've been a good writer. I also just love to encourage people. And I've done that all my life. And then, of course, the teaching. So that was a bit confusing. I was like, okay, what am I? What am I supposed to be here for? I got to thinking about it, and I realized that when I sing, I don't sing to entertain people. I sing so that they can hear a message and become a better person and be influenced in a way that can make them a better person. So I'm teaching them. And then when I write, I don't just write to entertain people. I write to help people to understand something that they didn't know before, to help them be a better person, to change them for the good. Teaching. And then when I encourage people, my bottom line is to make them be different than how they were before, because they can see who they are. They can see the truth. And again, that's teaching. So it turns out that all of the things that I'm good at, that I've done all my life, that are pretty easy for me, were actually all teaching. So maybe that might help you put some of those things together. And I'm going to give you a little challenge. I'm going to ask you to be courageous like I was to make this video. I want you to write down in the comments below what you came up with. And if you're still in the middle of it, write that down too. It'll be an encouragement to all of us who get to read it. So, hopefully now you know that the way you can find out why you were put here on this earth is just to relax and do what you love.